This will be the most important video you can watch or revise for Indus Water Treaty and why the Indus Water Treaty is no longer a valid treaty. It has outlived its utility in the conditions of changing climate, in the conditions of changing demographics and the geopolitics. You can all expect this question for discussion in UPSC mains. Even otherwise, you think all the people of India, whoever is concerned about India-Pakistan relations as a part of understanding the dynamics of geopolitics in South Asia, this will be the most important video. Point by point, I'll try discussing how Indus Water Treaty has outlived its utility. So point number one, I believe all of you understand the very basics, facts about Indus Water Treaty. That it was signed in 1960. It was signed where India was having leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru and Pakistan had the leadership of Field Marshal General Ayub Khan. This treaty ensured that of the 6 rivers of Indus Basin, the 3 western rivers, the main Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, was given to Pakistan as Pakistani rivers or the western rivers of Indus, and the 3 other rivers of eastern side, which is Satluj, Ravi and Beas, were given to India as part of the Indian rivers. And the water sharing of the Indus Basin was in the ratio of 80-20, 80% towards Pakistan and 20% for Indian use. So these facts and basics, I think you all understand. In April, when India decided that the Indus Water Treaty will be in abeyance, that is a kind of a temporary suspension, a lot of debates have come up. That is India right in doing this with a treaty which has otherwise survived a very long turmoil phase. It will survive a long phase of conflict between the 2 neighboring countries. But here is my view. I have done some research across newspaper articles and research documents. Here is my view, what I think and why I'm saying Indus Water Treaty has outlived its utility. Number one, the 80-20 ratio is a kind of a permanent ratio in water sharing treaty for India, Pakistan, for Indus River. Now this 80-20 ratio, it cannot be changed, it can't be modified, and it does not respect the idea that the Indus Basin is undergoing changes. There's climate change, the problems of receding glaciers, the problems related to groundwater differences, the changes related to the monsoon rhythm, the seasons are changing. So when so much aspects is changing about Indus Basin, how can the ratio remain unchanged and not have any scope for renegotiation? I am quoting one of the research institutions called as ICIMOD. It says that the Indus Water Basin can undergo a decrease of almost 40 to 70% of its water by 2100. It says that a very important phenomena which has sustained the Indus water is the Karakoram glaciers, the phenomena called as Karakoram anomaly. Very interesting aspect here, where global warming is resulting in a lot of melting of glaciers. The Karakoram glaciers, for some reasons, for a long time, have not been melting. In fact, they have been growing. It's called as the Karakoram anomaly, which has sustained a lot of rivers of South Asia and Central Asia. Indus system, Ganga system, Brahmaputra system, systems that feed river towards China, they all are fed by and supported by this unique phenomena called as the Karakoram anomaly. But research now tells us this Karakoram anomaly is also now threatened, which means the Karakoram glaciers will also start melting. The glaciers of Tibet also start melting. And in these conditions where we have climate change induced global warming and monsoon disruption, the 80-20 ratio as a permanent fixed ratio is now questionable. There is no mechanism of adaptive changes based on the climate change reality that we are facing. So that is one of the debates of why the treaty is now losing its utility. The second question, I think this is the more important debate question, the more important deeper question. The 80-20 ratio, what was the basis of it? How did we arrive at it? Pakistan must get 80% and India must get 20%. The fact is, before the ratio was decided, it was kind of assumed that because Pakistan depended on Jhelum, Chenab and Indus, the 3 rivers will be declared as Pakistan rivers, and the other 3 rivers, which Indian Punjab depends on, will be declared as Indian rivers. So before the ratio was announced, the river division had already been established. The total Indus water is approximately about 171 million acre feet. 170-71, where the western rivers of Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, they account for approximately 135 million acre feet, and Indian rivers, the Satluj, Bias and Ravi, they account for 35 million acre feet, MAF. So if you divide 35 by 170-71, you will get approximately around 20%. Whereas if you divide 135 by 175, you'll get approximately around 79 or 80%. So this is how the 80-20 ratio was decided. So the ratio division was based on the river partition first. Then we arrived at the figure. The question is, we should have also considered two other factors, the population factor and the net zone area as a factor. What is the dependence of the waters for irrigation, the dependence of the water for the population, the demographic needs? If you look at Pakistan's population, the entire population of Pakistan, which is Punjab region of Pakistan, the Sindh region, the Balochistan region, and also the northern Pakhtunkhwa, the Pathan regions north mein, the total population of Pakistan is approximately about 245 million. And in comparison, if you look at the basin of Indus in India, including Delhi, if I add, which is Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, and also some parts of Rajasthan, the population is approximately about 180 million. So ये जो ratio है, the ratio is about 1.5:1. 80-20 ratio is about 4:1 ratio. If you compare population of today, it's about 1.5:1. And if I consider the population of Pakistan with that of India in 1960, when the treaty was done, at that time, Pakistan's population was about 45 million, and India's Punjab alone, along with Haryana and parts of Himachal Pradesh, was about 20 million. The ratio is approximately about 2:1, not 4:1. And if I remove Balochistan does not depend on Indus water. The parts of the northern northwestern frontier province, even that doesn't depend on typical Indus water. The main Indus dependence is for the Punjab of Pakistan and Sindh of Pakistan. The Punjab and Sindh of Pakistan, the present population is about 180 million. And in India's Indus basin, if I remove Delhi, it's about 90 million, which implies the ratio is again about 2:1. So the ratio of 4:1 based on the river water and not considering the demographics is a very big mistake. So up till here I've explained the demographic basis of partition of the waters was entirely ignored. And this is not a small population. We're talking about almost 190 million population in India that depends on the Indus water. And to assume that this population's requirement will not increase in the future was a fraud assumption. So if we had considered the population basis, the ratio of division would not have been 4:1. 80-20 ratio का मतलब ये है 4:1 ratio है. ये ratio शायद 2.5:1 होता या 2:1 होता, but definitely not 80-20%. Now, the third issue that we have in this percentage issue is we have not considered the net zone area in the partition of the waters. If you look at the amount of area that Pakistan has under net zone area, it has been around 22 million hectares for the entire Pakistan. And this number has not changed much over the years. And in the 60s, maybe the number used to be around 20, 21, 22 million hectares. Now also, it is around in the same range. Whereas, if you look at the net zone area of Punjab, Haryana, and parts of Himachal Pradesh, the net zone area has increased from about 7 to 8 million hectares. और आज के डेट में it is close to around 11 to 12 million hectares. Almost 1.5 times growth हुआ है in Punjab's irrigation and Punjab's agricultural land. If I now take the ratio in terms of net zone area, even if I go by 1960s numbers, the ratio should have been in the range of 2:1 or maximum 3:1. If entire Pakistan was considered, it would have been about 22 hectares, and India's Punjab would have been about 7.58 million hectares. So, ये ratio नहीं था. And if you go by today's, and if I consider Pakistan's Punjab and Pakistan's Sindh alone, Punjab and Sindh में, the area under agriculture is about 13 to 14 million hectares. And the area of agriculture in Indian Punjab, Haryana, and parts of Himachal Pradesh, it's about 11 to 12 million hectares. The ratio is almost 50-50. It is not 80-20 if I had gone by that net zone area. So our discussion point here is that the 80-20 ratio was entirely flawed. It was based on the wrong presumption that these rivers are Pakistan rivers and that for the 80% was given to them. Whereas the Indian rivers, although they are smaller ones, but the need of India's agricultural demand, the need of India's population demand was entirely ignored. So I'm questioning the whole idea of 80-20 ratio. Now, linked to this, a very important discussion. This is the third point argument here. Now, Pakistan Indus system also receives water from Kabul River. It comes from Afghanistan, plus another river called as Chitral River. Ye Chitral and Kabul River milke together, they're about 20 million acre feet, 20 million acre feet. And in the division of the Indus system, this amount of water has not been considered for Pakistan. So when we divide Indus Basin, total about 171 million acre feet. We did not add the component that Pakistan is receiving from Afghanistan's river. And even now, bulk of the water does not stay back in Afghanistan. Pakistan historically has been the beneficiary of the entire water of Kabul and the Chitral River. Even this was ignored. So again, 80-20 ratio, we can't substantiate. Okay, there were conditions different in the 1960s, but to say that we will not consider those factors today will be a fraud assumption. The three arguments I've given you why the Indus Water Treaty must be renegotiated. Now, very important fourth point. The whole presumption of Indus Water Treaty is based on one idea that the river basin can be partitioned. जैसे हमने entire South Asia को partition किया, we divided the country, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. We have again divided the river basin, Pakistan getting the western rivers and India getting the eastern rivers. Now, this is a very flawed approach in river management. In river management, the approach should have been whole of basin approach. It should have been the totality of Indus water management, where even Pakistan should be invested in management of the upstream systems, management of the glacier systems, management of the forest systems, management related to the water hydrology of Indus River, not just downstream, but also upstream. Pakistan has no investments whatsoever to ensure that Indus water is able to maintain its water amount and Pakistan can benefit from it. If you look at many other river agreements across the world, US and Canada's agreement, Trans-Border River Agreement. If you look at US and Mexico for the sharing of waters of the river Rio Grande, or if you look at Danube River that flows across Romania, Austria, parts of Switzerland, Hungary, or you look at Mekong River between China, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, you'll realize that these river agreements are based on a whole of basin approach, where upstream and downstream countries both are equally responsible for managing the entire river. They share the water and they don't divide the water. This is the biggest flaw in the Indus Water Treaty. Pakistan must have investments to ensure that the glaciers, the upstream slopes, the water hydrologies, the groundwater systems for the entire basin is taken care of properly along with India rather than partitioning the Indus water. This is a very grave flaw in the whole modern concept of river basin management. It's a grave flaw in the whole concept how river water should be managed, properly enriched, and also used by the member nations. Now, apart from this, these are the issues related to how the partition was done. Another very important aspect in any treaty is the dispute resolution system. The Indus Water Treaty was ultimately brokered by World Bank. I reuse the word brokered. They were one of the facilitators. They were in the interim arrangement. They were party to the entire process, but ultimately World Bank's role had been reduced since 1970. World Bank otherwise has no role in managing the disputes on its own unilaterally. The Indus Water Treaty, as a part of goodwill, cooperation, as a part of mutual resolution, there are three established practices formalized under the Indus Water Treaty. Number one is a body called as PIC, Permanent Indus Commission. This body takes up if there are any questions related to how the water will be used. Questions related to data sharing. PIC is one of the important bodies, Permanent Indus Commission. A second body is called as neutral expert. If there are technical differences in interpretation of the clauses, if there are engineering issues related to how the treaty has to be formalized, the neutral expert comes in. And at a graded level, we have the third body called as Court of Arbitration, COA. The Court of Arbitration is formalized within the Indus Water Treaty, and it acts like a court, a judiciary that oversees the disputes. And this process is a graded process. The PIC comes in, the neutral experts come in, or we have the Court of Arbitration. The Court of Arbitration is not same as the Permanent Court of Arbitration at The Hague. Although PCA, it operates as a part of formalizing the entire registry. It helps in the secretarial work. But the Court of Arbitration under Indus Water Treaty is different from the Permanent Court of Arbitration. Now, if you look at the disputes which has happened, you'll find Pakistan invariably has bypassed many of these, and they have approached World Bank directly. Pakistan has tried to internationalize the issue by going to UN Security Council directly, also reaching out to PCA directly. So Pakistan repeatedly has bypassed the Indus Water Treaty's intent of cooperative resolution, intent of mutual resolution. And it has lost in most cases. It lost the Kishanganga case in 2021-23, and now it has the Ratal case at PCA, which is an ongoing process right now. And remember, World Bank has no role to play. World Bank's only role is to oversee the appointment of the neutral expert, appointment of the members to the Court of Arbitration. The Court of Arbitration is not a permanent body. It is set up on case-to-case basis as there are disputes. Now, recently what's happened is Pakistan has approached both of them simultaneously. While the issue is taken up by the Court of Arbitration, Pakistan has also entered into the World Bank and requested them to intervene. India is against this. This is a kind of a dual track they have taken up. It is not a part of the Indus Water Treaty. And India sees this more as harassment. They are losing. India does not have structures that can permanently hold back the waters. India is underusing its own irrigation water needs, which is sanctioned under the Indus Water Treaty for the Western rivers. When Pakistan slaps a case, Pakistan disputes it, there are overruns, delays in projects, cost escalations, and India sees that more as harassment rather than legitimate, genuine complaint against India's projects on River Jhelum, on River Chena. So if you look at the entire process of how Pakistan has managed to weaponize the treaty, Pakistan is not seeing the treaty as a part of South Asia cooperation. Pakistan does not see the treaty as a part of the solidarity of South Asian countries' cooperative development. Pakistan sees IWT more as a weapon to further its geopolitical claims in South Asia and to harass India. And unfortunately, the West, the World Bank, the US, the UK, they seem to have sided historically with Pakistan. In fact, when the Indus Water Treaty was being formalized across 13 years almost, US and UK had vested interest and they had appointed World Bank to ensure that the entire treaty has a tilt towards Pakistan. In 1960s, Pakistan was part of the CENTO, a kind of a grouping that they had the US. India was non-aligned and India was more tilted towards Russia. So in the Indus Water Treaty, there is definitely a Western bias in favor of Pakistan. The World Bank was more like an agency of US and UK to ensure Pakistan is within the geopolitical fold of the Western nations' interest in South Asia, where India was seen as more of a Russian ally. So this tilt continues even today. There are a lot of examples where Pakistan seemed to have transgressed the spirit of the treaty, yet Pakistan sees a lot of support from the West because the treaty was seen as a way of placating Pakistan to remain in the close allied network of the US, UK, and Western European countries. Now the question is, when all of this was happening, what was the logic of why did India agree to such asymmetrical terms in 1960s? Why did India agree to giving away 80% of the waters to Pakistan? What was the compulsion? The reason is the then existing geopolitical situations. India wanted a stable South Asia. India believed that it was in benefit of South Asia and India's interest long term to not fight against Pakistan on Indus Water, which of course Pakistan depends on for its irrigation. India was willing to concede the advantage to Pakistan, while India itself was focused on developing its Ganga system, developing irrigations around groundwater. So the asymmetry that India agreed to in favor of Pakistan was partly the consequence of the goodwill expectations that we would have from this kind of a treaty that favored Pakistan, which historically has been not a big supporter of Indian policies. In fact, in the parliament, Nehru in 1960 said this, that it is in interest of India that we don't squabble over the Indus water and let Pakistan have it. It's better to have a peaceful neighborhood rather than India pushing its claims and its gains, which might rile up Pakistan to go against and stand against India. Unfortunately, this expectation and the Indus Water Treaty has not been met. One more very flawed aspect of this treaty is that this treaty is written as a permanent treaty. There is no clause that any country can withdraw on its own. There is no clause for abrogation of the treaty or if the treaty can be annulled. The treaty can be abrogated only if both the countries approach to renegotiate all over again. This we think is unfair. There's nothing called as permanent relationship. There's nothing called as permanent treaty. In fact, on the Vienna Convention, Article 62 says that a country can withdraw from a treaty if it seeks to renegotiate. So if you look at the entire treaty, the way it was negotiated, the way Pakistan was allowed to get away, the whole objective of the treaty was that we will build a peaceful South Asia, that we will have a cooperative relationship with Pakistan. And it's very unfortunate that while we supported the treaty, while India did extend the support unilaterally, Pakistan has been involved in a series of conflicts against India. The 1965 war, the 1971 war, the Kargil conflict, the parliament attacks, the Mumbai attacks, the Uri attack, the Pahalgam attack, all are testimony to the fact that Pakistan does not value India's cooperation in these kind of long-term strategic matters. In fact, it has taken Indus Water Treaty for granted. So it's high time we do some corrections on this. Indus water sharing is not simply a technical issue in terms of water, irrigation and economy. Indus water sharing is not simply about development. There is a security angle also, which India did not see when it was signing the treaty. Hence, this is the case that Indus Water Treaty needs to be renegotiated. It is right that India takes a stand, makes it difficult for Pakistan, and this Pakistan should see the cost that it has to pay if it does not collaborate, at least on issues like supporting cross-border terrorism, supporting cross-border drugs deal and arms trade. The price you pay. And unfortunately, Pakistan does not realize that this was in its own interest, that it could have ensured the Indus Water Treaty to remain favorable to it, while Pakistan could have benefited from India's collaboration in South Asia. This is, I think, a comprehensive discussion, and supporting the idea the Indus Water Treaty has overlived its utility, because look at the climate change issues, look at the demographic angles which have not been respected, and look at the geopolitical situation in South Asia, where Pakistan does not value the maintenance of peace. I hope this discussion helps you in a lot of answers and answer writing. Good luck from my side. Keep watching Shabbir from Edukemy for geography stories.
Geography Optional Foundation course by Shabbir Sir, where you will get live interactive classes and course completion in a module-based approach. Scan the QR code and join now.